Welcome to the Why Not Real Estate Podcast, where you will learn top strategies from world-class real estate investors, both large and small. Why not? Tune in and get started today.
Anyways, I observed how he did that business deal, right? I observed we went out to lunch with the owners of the motel. We sat down, and then once I observed and see how he reacted when the other guy came back and said, "No, I want this much, or I want that much, or this is what I want," right? I'm observing and seeing that, okay, this guy's trying to figure out how to make things work. I'm like, that's the guy I want to work with. When you try to figure out, and you're not trying to cheat somebody, right? You're not trying to take something from somebody. That's what I look for. Are you going to cheat somebody? Are you going to stab somebody? You're going to say something that isn't true, or you're not a man of your word. That's a red flag. If you're a man of your word, you're going to do the things that you're going to say you're going to do, and at the same time, you're going into any deal with honesty and integrity. Boom, that's who I want to work with. Somebody who's going to figure out how and be sincere and honest throughout the whole transaction.
Hey, what's up, all of my real estate peeps? This is Brian Lucier with another episode of the Why Not Real Estate Podcast, where we interview anyone or everyone from beginners to billionaires, where we believe investing in multi-class is one of the best asset classes in real estate. Although on a couple episodes, I have been shown the light to some other revenue streams. And today we've got another revenue stream. This is our third season and the second time we've had someone come in for midterm and short-term rentals, actually the third time. But I've gone through this gentleman's website and he has some beautiful properties. And I can't wait to get started to tell you some of his story or have him explain some of his story to us. So let's introduce our guest today. Our guest today is a powerhouse in the real estate and entrepreneurship realm, best known for scaling his short-term rental business, Nightly Properties, into a high-performing co-hosting operation across New England. With nearly a decade of hands-on experience in multifamily investing, being a landlord, and midterm rentals, he has turned his cash-flowing properties and vacation homes into lifestyle assets, all while empowering others to do the same. Before going out onto real estate full time, our guest led 50 retail locations as a director, managing employees and overseeing the business. He climbed the corporate ladder rapidly, becoming a district manager at just 20 years old and reaching the title of director by 26. His leadership style combines data-driven execution with high emotional intelligence, skills he now applies to team building, business development, and scaling his short-term rental systems. He currently operates in both midterm and short-term rentals with a portfolio that includes waterfront cottages. These are gorgeous. Luxury boutique conversions, and rural campground listings. Today, he specializes in value add strategies, operational efficiency, and creating passive income ecosystems. Beyond real estate, our guest is a father, mentor, and visionary who believes wealth should fund freedom and impact. Whether teaching his kids about ROI through real life projects, like helping his son earn a PlayStation 5 by earning by running his own lemonade stand, and later, this is so cool, publishing a children's book about the journey, which is now available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble in Millbury, Massachusetts. He is focused on building a story that goes far beyond business. He is driven by legacy, impact, and empowering the next generation to success. Ladies and gentlemen, all of my real estate peeps, entrepreneurs, investors, and rock stars, it is my pleasure to welcome to the show today real estate strategist, short-term rental operator, entrepreneur, former director at Wireless Industry, and legacy builder, Mr. Samuel Ahsan. Samuel, Welcome to the show.
Let's go, Brian. I'm super excited to be here. Let's get this started.
All right, and let's do it then. So, I want to thank you so much. I'll tell our guests a little bit about how we met. I'm back here in the United States for a while. We're purchasing a property, and I've been going to some of the different meetup groups. And a couple meetup groups, I met Sam here. Is Sam okay? Can I call you Sam?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so I met Sam here, and we started to talk, and it's like, I got to get your story on the show. And he said, sure, let's do it. So here we are, and we're going to get started. Actually, I saw Sam last night at another event. He had to cut out a little early, so I'm really happy that we're here today. So, Sam, we know a little bit about your story now, but could you tell us, and it's in your bio there, but what did you used to do before becoming a real estate investor and entrepreneur?
Yeah, so while I was in college, I started working in the wireless industry, just doing sales. I remember working in a kiosk and go after 3 o'clock, I go to the kiosk, work there. At night, I'd study, then go back to college in the morning, and the same thing over and over, right? So that was me, just working in sales. And then once I was a senior in college. I had met a real estate agent who's focused in building relationships with investors. So he started talking about, hey, I can help you get a multifamily, and I started thinking about it, and that's how I started my journey.
So you met a agent while you were in real estate and he kind of lit the flame and sparked you into it.
While I was in college, but that wasn't what really lit the flame. It was my mother telling me that, hey, you need to start paying rent.
Were you living at home when she told you this?
Yes, I was. It was during college, yes.
All right. Well, I mean, kudos to your mom for teaching you something that eventually was going to get you where you are today. So,
Correct.
other than your mom shedding the light that living wasn't free and you had to pay rent, and then meeting this agent, what other influences did you have growing up that turned you towards real estate?
It wasn't, I kept hearing about, hey, real estate will help you build wealth. It was just things that I heard, right? But it was really the shift where I realized that, hey, I need to pay rent. Why don't I just go find a place, live there, have somebody else pay for my mortgage? And that's where I started. That's how I started.
That was the light bulb moment.
Yes, because I didn't want to pay rent and I didn't want to pay for a mortgage. I wanted that to be paid for.
So there's a little bit of a transition. I apologize. They're doing street sweeping out on the street here today. So if that comes through, it was not a spaceship. So you're in college. Your mom set the spark for you to pay rent, which triggered, hey, why don't I collect rent? And then you met an agent when you were in college. So there's a gap in this story a little bit from meeting the agent, planting that seed that you could buy a multifamily to now a decade of experience. So what was that transition like from that conversation with that realtor to your first property, or what was that
Of
property?
course, yeah. So I connected with him. I said, "Hey, I might be interested. Let's just go take a look at some properties." I just didn't know what I was getting into, right? So we started walking a couple properties, and then I found this one that I liked. It was the fourth property, I believe. It was right on Route 9, so it was close enough for me to get to the highways. Location really mattered to me. It was right across the hospital as well too. So I said, you know what? Let's just go with this. So I closed on that property within 2 weeks. It was like buying a car. It was really easy actually closing on that property. So closed, and then once I closed on the property, my goal was, hey, I'm just gonna get a tenant, and the only type of tenants that I know of is long-term tenants. I had no idea what midterm tenants were. So my mother comes along. She's like, why don't you get people that come here on contract jobs and do room rentals? I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, here, let me show you the process. So she told me exactly what website to go on. She told me that you can make money for people that come here and they stay here for 6 months or a couple months and they're on contract jobs doing IT. Do room rentals and you'll make more money. At that time, I believe this was 2015 of August. So a two-bedroom apartment in Worcester, I believe, is around $800 at that time. I was getting $800 per room at that time. So once I got my first tenant at $800 for the room, I'm like, wow, I can do the same thing for the second bedroom, right? So I just continued that, and to this day, I still have that a part of that unit where I'm doing midterm rentals in. So yes.
So was it a single family house?
Nope, it was a two family.
Two family. Did you do the midterm rentals on both sides?
No, I lived in one.
Okay. And then on
Yes,
the
owner
other,
occupied.
all right, owner occupied. And then on the other side, the second unit, how many bedrooms were in there?
It was two bedrooms. But it's interesting because I had a third person come in and they want to like live in a shared space or something. It was like an Airbnb, like they want to live in the living room or the hall or the extra room that's in the back or wherever. So it worked out pretty well. Um, and I know the rule is that you can't have more than three unrelated people, so it worked out very well.
Perfect, perfect. So you're getting 800, 800, and then the guy living in the back room, how much was he?
That was only like $400.
All right. So 2000 bucks.
Yes,
And what was your mortgage ish?
1,200.
So you're getting paid 800 bucks. Well, of course, you're a homeowner, so you've got
Bill,
insurance,
yeah.
water
Correct,
bills, all
correct,
that stuff. But
correct.
boy, what a nice kick. And for our viewers who don't know, Route 9 in Massachusetts is like prime real estate. If you bought this thing 10 years ago, I can only imagine that it's doubled in price by now.
Correct. Correct.
Right.
It has,
Not
yes.
bad. And you still live there.
I know. I moved on to another multi that's owner occupied right now.
Ah, clever strategy. So
Yes.
you're
Yeah.
house hacking in multifamilies.
Yes. Yes. This will be my third house hack.
Nice. Nice. Sweet deal. All right. So your mom, we got to go back to your mom here. She lights the flame under your butt to tell you to pay rent. And that sets you on this whole trajectory to here we are on this show. What's the deal with your mom coming up to you say, "Hey, try midterm rentals"? She sounds like some type of a expert. Like, was she into real estate as well, or
No, her father was. Her father owned. My grandfather owns properties out in Bangladesh. So my family actually owns properties out there. But over here, I grew up in New York, in Queens, New York. That's where I was born.
okay,
So I was when I grew up, I saw them owning a business. So my father had a electronic business right in Jackson Heights, and my mother had like a little clothing shop in the back as well. And then since we've moved out. She's had daycare businesses, convenience stores in Manchester, New Hampshire. So she's had a couple different businesses. And now she's just like a school teacher. Like she's just settled down. She doesn't want to do any of those businesses, but she has all these ideas that she always brings, and it helps.
so school teacher, entrepreneur, business owner. Where did she ever get the idea to turn you on to midterm rentals?
I don't know. She just mentioned real estate over and over again to me, telling me that that's where you can create wealth. And I just got into it. That's it. Once I saw it and I saw it made sense, and I've been doing it for a while, that's exactly the route that I went down.
Have you done something nice for your mom?
I have, of course, I have. She has a house by the lake right now. But yeah, but I'll be honest, like this journey wasn't easy. Like it wasn't easy because my second house that I had, I went through one of my biggest adversities I've ever faced in my life. Where I was probably $300,000 in debt, had a litigation. The house was condemned. It was another owner-occupied property I was going to go into. It was the second oldest home in Worcester, built in 1735.
Wow.
Um, it was it was a lot. It was a lot, and it took me a year just to get out of that mindset because I walked away from real estate at that point. I'm like, I'm never doing this again. I walked away. I'm like, it's easier at my W-2. In fact, when I put 100% into my W-2 at that time, and I that's when I became a director within the year. So when you focus on something, put your mind to something, you'll be successful. But yeah, getting out of that phase that I was in, I took a couple books and it took some growing to do. Let's just say that.
So you hit a stumbling block, but it didn't
Yes.
take you out of the game.
Yeah, it took 4 years for me to get back in the game.
That's okay. And
Yes.
how old are you today?
I'm 32.
32. I
Yes.
didn't get started until I was 38.
Got it. Got it.
So
Okay.
your trajectory is ahead of mine.
Got it.
I mean, if we're looking at the scale of time, I've been
Yeah.
doing it longer, so I'm at a different point. But if we're starting at zero, you and me at the same time, you're way ahead of me.
Thank you. That helps.
32. Well, you started when you were what, 22?
Yeah, 22, 23 is when I bought my first property. Yes.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, listen up on that. If you're hearing this and thinking you're too young to get started, my goodness, just jump into the water in the deep end and learn to swim because at 22 and we've had some guys Mr. Mayor on one of our other podcasts. I think he was going out looking at properties when he was 16 years old. So don't let
Wow.
anything hold you back. And you mentioned mindset. I mean,
Right.
that's got to be 100% what drives you to do this. And
Yes.
again, mom, Sam's mom, if you're watching this, thank you so much for just being that soft touch, mentioning the real estate and getting him to where he is. Because I'm sure with starting at 22, your trajectory, by the time you're where I am, you're going to be far beyond where I am. And the numbers are there. This is all a numbers game. So you're going to
Correct.
hit those numbers because you have time on your side.
You just have to be consistent. That's it.
Yes,
That's all
absolutely.
it is.
So we're talking about time and timelines and all of this. So this question, I always enjoy this question. This is my time machine question, and there's two parts to it. So you've been in the game now 10 years, a decade.
Yes.
You've probably seen two market cycles. You're probably entering your second market cycle. You've seen the merry-go-round go round. And anybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about, a market cycle always has to follow the same sine wave path. It never jumps from one to two ahead. It always has to go through that transition. So I say this all the time, real estate is like a slow-moving train.
Yeah.
You get to see it. It's going to come around the corner. You know where it needs to turn. So it always goes downhill fast, but know that, okay? So here we are in our time machine question. If you could go back 10 years in time and tap yourself on the shoulder, what advice would you give to yourself starting over? And then the second part of the question for that newbie who might be watching this show for the first time, what advice would you give to that person who's on the fence who wants to get started today? And we'll start with you. So, what advice, if you could go back in time, would you give yourself if you were starting over?
So, not real estate related, buy more Bitcoins. If I bought more Bitcoins back then, I'd be all set right now. But I did buy a couple. So, that's number one. But number two is that there's always opportunities in front of you, and find a way to make it happen, right? The reason why I say this is because as soon as I closed on that first property, I had my neighbor across the street that just came up to me one day and he said, "Hey, look, I see you doing work. I see that you're investing." And he told me that I think this would be a good opportunity if we could do owner financing. So he approached me with an owner financing deal. And at that time, I'm what, 23 years old, and here I am. My mother's telling me I have to get married. So either do I save my money for marriage or do I buy this other house, right? So my advice is that that property he wanted what 200,000 for. It had one, two, three plus a garage plus a unit on top of it, two garages and a unit above. So right now, rental I could probably be getting 8,000. He wanted 200,000 back then owner financing. And I didn't jump into it. You know what? I'm like, more opportunities are gonna come. It is what it is. What I could have done is that I could have found somebody, still get married, and still bought that property, right? There's opportunities always in front of you. No matter what, there's always an opportunity. When you're seeking something and you want something, it's gonna be right there in front of you. You may not see it, but write it down. Think about it later, and that's there. There's a way that you can make things happen. So my advice to you is If you come across an opportunity, even if it doesn't look like an opportunity, take a step back, reflect, ask yourself, what are my goals? What am I trying to attain long term? Does this fit into that vision? And if it does, take action.
So looking back at that deal, seller financing, if anybody who doesn't know, that's like the holy grail of buying a property if you can get that.
Correct.
At 23 years old, you don't know what you don't know.
Correct.
Obviously, you were getting married. That's a huge life transition. Other than getting married, was there something else in the back of your mind that was maybe holding you back from doing that?
Um, Stabilizing what I have right now, even though I'm making cash flow, I'm still learning how to manage a property because I'm managing it all myself. Um, Issues that come up, I'm taking care of. I'm mowing the grass myself. If there's a heating issue, whatever it is, right? Painting, roof, whatever. I was taking care of everything, hiring people. So I just started and I was just trying to stabilize. I like to stabilize before I move fast, right? If I'm confident and comfortable where I am, I'll move. But looking back, maybe I could have found a way to make that happen as well too. But it is what it is because we learn lessons throughout life, and that's what grows us and builds us.
That's a perfectly good answer. Stabilizing your operations, your properties that you had
Correct.
before taking on too much risk, spreading yourself too thin, because that's where
Correct.
people get burned out. That's where people miss a detail that can hurt.
Yes.
So, okay, so this deal got by, but you're doing fine. I mean, you're 32
Yeah.
years old. You have a beautiful portfolio. So we will introduce our guests to your website and all that. We'll get
Of
them
course.
on there because
Appreciate
I
that.
was looking at it, it's like, oh my goodness. I'm a huge fan of waterfront and just going through some of your stuff. I mean, even taking the pictures of the hot tubs and the jacuzzi, it's like, come on, yeah, this is it, right? This
I
is
mean, you're in Aruba, right? Don't you have waterfront right now?
Yeah, I do, but right now I'm in Massachusetts, so I'm very far away from water. The only water I'm seeing is in my bathtub.
I hear you.
So, okay, so stabilize. There's always an opportunity. Find a way, make it happen. If you could go back in time, what other advice would you have given yourself starting over?
Find the right team. That adversity that I faced was because I didn't have the right team. I went in solo and did everything myself. The reason why I'm able to grow right now was A, I seeked out a mentor until I had the right mentor. B, I kept going to meetups over and over again for 2+ years until I met the right people, right? I want to connect with people that try to figure out how to make things work instead of being one directional. There's a lot of people out there, they want it their way and that's it. That's not how I want to work. I want to work with people that are creative, that find ways to make deals happen. And those are the people that you want to work with because no matter what, you're going to be in situations. You will be in situations where you want to do a syndication or you want to close a short term rental, or whatever it is, find a way to make it work. And if you're that type of person and you connect with those people, it makes it so much easier when you're talking to your contractors, right? Instead of telling your contractors, go do this, this, and this, you know what? They might come back and tell you that, hey, Sam, I think it's better if we do it this way or that way, right? Have an open mind and see how people want to do things because there's things that we may not always see. We're not the experts. Hire experts. That's another thing I learned. When I went through this adversity, I was asking friends and families, people that aren't experts, right? So if I hired experts or asked experts, I would have probably done things a little differently. So have the right team. That's number one. With my operations right now in short-term rental, the way I grow is to make sure I have the right cleaner, the right handyman. Do I have the right team? If I have the right people, I feel good to grow. Otherwise, I'm hurting myself, I'm hurting my reputation, and I know what that's like. So I'm not going to repeat the same mistake. Hire experts and have a great team.
You mentioned some gold here. Seeking out the mentor, going to the meetups, building that team, and hiring the experts. Um, when you were talking about the vendors and the contractors and all that, and listening to those experts, I got to go back to your bio here. That's exercising emotional intelligence, right? Because we can be dictated by logic or our heart, but to get to a place where those are working together, where, I'm seeing you as an expert in your field. It's like for me to put my ego on the shelf and say, okay, this guy has been there, done there, got the t-shirt, scars, and the shot glass. I'm going to listen to him because, I mean, Henry Ford was known for always hiring people smarter than he was.
No,
And by doing that, he was able to elevate his operations. And there's still Ford trucks driving around today, 100 years later. So
correct.
having that emotional intelligence, and our viewers, our peeps out there, if you don't know what that is, there's plenty of books on it. You can get some audio books, negotiation skills, right? You mentioned, and that goes back to your leadership qualities, being able to have those conversations with your team and ask them the questions. I
Correct.
think you missed it last night. You had to go, but we were talking about team building. And, when my guys come to me, they have to, now they know I'm not going to answer the question for them because that trains them to not solve the problem themselves,
Correct. Correct. Correct.
right? So
Yes.
I'll ask them the questions. Okay, you've explained what the situation is. If you're coming to me with it, you got to have two or three different ways that you're going to solve it. And then I'm going to ask you the question. If this was your property and you were paying the bill and you wanted it done right, which of those options would you do?
100%.
Let's go that route.
100%.
100%.
100%. I can connect to that. I remember at my W-2, when I first got promoted, they moved me down to Philadelphia. Philadelphia was tough. This was during COVID time, all right? This is when cars were burning. My first weekend, there was an armed robbery at the store, all right? But I taught my district managers that, hey, when there's a problem, I want you to think of a solution and bring that solution to me. Because I want to know where your head's at. I want to know how you're thinking. Now that I know how you're thinking, I can guide you. I can direct you down the right path, right? So
Yeah.
it's very important for people to think, right? Think of solutions to the problems because 90% of the time those problems can be solved if you just think about it, right? Or if you just come back and be like, look, I'm thinking this, I don't think that's right. We collaborate, we make something even greater. When you put two minds together, so much better.
Yes. Yes. We're drinking the same Kool-Aid out of the same cup there. Because your idea plus my idea isn't one plus one equals two. It's one plus one equals pi to
Yeah,
infinity
yeah,
because we can take the best parts of both ideas and combine to something. I always go back to the story of the orange. Do you know the story of the orange with the two grandmas?
I don't know.
All right. So they both want the same orange
Okay.
and they fight over it, fight over it, fight over it, but they don't talk about why they want the orange. So eventually they just split the orange in half. One grandma takes half the orange and eats it. The other grandma takes half of the orange peel and uses it to make orange rind for baking.
Wow.
But if they would have identified the problem, they
Yeah.
both would have got 100% of the
Yes.
answer. So,
Yes.
coming together, you create a solution that's beyond what would
Correct.
have been a good answer if just one person thought of it.
Yes. Yes.
So really, really good stuff to help you get your trajectory aligned if you could have gone back in time. Now let's shift the spotlight to that newbie who might
Mhm.
be listening to this saying, wow, these guys are rock stars. They figured out all this stuff. What advice would you give to that newbie who's starting out today?
I think I mentioned it, but really just partnering up. That's the advice I would give. You can't do everything yourself. That's number one. Um, I've seen people that try to create a business or start something and they want to do all the they want to be all the hats. You just can't do that. You can't. If I were, let me give you an example of how I scaled my business. All right. So when I walked into this short-term rental business, my partners already had seven. My goal is to grow to 22. Or I'm sorry, right now I'm at 22. My goal is to grow, right? So over the last 6, 8 months, I'm thinking, all right, they have these properties. I want to go find local people that have properties and be able to manage their properties. So how do I find that? So one day I'm talking to my partner Carl, and he's like, "Sam, I got to go out to Holden. I got the inspector's going to be there to do the short-term rental inspection. So I got to get this registered." So I'm thinking, huh. So if you need to be there and someone needs to do an inspection, there must be a list of all the short-term rentals. So I started calling all the towns, trying to figure out, do you guys have a list of short-term rentals?
Uh,
Okay. And a bunch of them kept just saying no, no, no. And maybe I wasn't doing it right. Up until one person said yes. All right. Now I'm trying to pick his brains. How do I get that? Right. So I'm trying to find out how do I get it. So I was able to get that list by just calling around and finding out the towns have these short-term rentals. But going back to the advice of somebody starting out is partnering up, because when you partner up and you're talking to your partners, there's ideas that come up, right? Things come up. You can't do everything yourself. You just can't. Partner up.
so pros and cons of partnering, and I'm going to pick your brain on this a little bit. Um, you hear the old saying, "Oh, partners is for dancing," but I mean, everything that we're talking about, being able to combine superpowers here. So, what are the things that you looked for when you had to vet some of your partners? I mean, things that were red flags, things that were green lights.
Integrity. Seeing I mean, I've hired over hundreds of people, terminated over hundreds of people. So now it's me just talking to somebody, understanding, are they, what kind of person, what kind of character are they, right? I think that's number one. Understanding who they are, and then also trying it out. If you think you're gonna sync with somebody, don't just sign a contract. First, try to do a project together. First, try to see if it works out, right? See how they react to some of the downfalls, right? Are they emotional, right? Or are they logical thinkers? Because you want somebody that's probably a little opposite to you, um, that can probably see the other side. When you're in a project, you're in it. But when you have a partner that's probably not all the way in and they're handling a different portion of the business, and when you're talking about it, they're seeing things from the outside and can probably give you better advice, right? And that's the same thing that goes back to the retail world or any type of business. There's managers for a reason, right? Managers sometimes see things a little differently than what the rep is doing with that customer because they're so involved with that transaction, right? So I think that's very important is understanding how your partner will react to certain situations, test it out, see if you guys mesh, and if you guys are supporting one another and bringing value to one another, boom, you're good to go.
That's really, really, I mean, that's golden, and that's definitely going to make the clip reel. So I've heard this said, and I've read it in a bunch of different books and different shows and podcasts. Say you're going to partner with someone, right? A good idea is to go out to dinner with them and see how they interact with people and how they treat people, especially like a waitress or something like that. Because God love the waitress, especially on a Sunday or a holiday. She would much rather be, or he would much rather be with their family, but they're serving you. And
Correct.
if somebody goes in and like is condescending or doesn't show respect to a stranger, those are some of the red flags that could say, okay, later down the road, or heaven forbid they got the order wrong, right? Do they go ballistic? That
Yeah,
could be a red flag that say, okay, so if we're in a deal and they paint the room the wrong color or something, is this person going to blow up and destroy a relationship with a good contractor, right?
correct.
So
Correct.
yeah.
So just expand off what you said. That's exactly what I ended up doing. Because the partners that I have right now, we were actually going to buy a motel on Route 9. Actually, we had the LOI. Um, anyway, so we were gonna buy a motel because we want to do midterm rentals. There's so many, because my midterm rentals are mainly H-1B visas. So they come here on contract jobs. So I would have been able to just, I have referrals and managers that work there, so I would have been able to just fill it up. 77 units was at that motel. Anyways, I observed how he did that business deal, right? I observed we went out to lunch with the owners of the motel. We sat down, and then once I observed and see how he reacted when the other guy came back and said, "No, I want this much, or I want that much, or this is what I want," right? I'm observing and seeing that, okay, this guy's trying to figure out how to make things work. I'm like, that's the guy I want to work with. When you try to figure out, and you're not trying to cheat somebody, right? You're not trying to take something from somebody. That's what I look for. Are you going to cheat somebody? Are you going to stab somebody? You're going to say something that isn't true, or you're not a man of your word. That's a red flag. If you're a man of your word, you're going to do the things that you're going to say you're going to do, and at the same time, you're going into any deal with honesty and integrity. Boom, that's who I want to work with. Somebody who's going to figure out how and be sincere and honest throughout the whole transaction.
Beautiful, beautiful. Another clip reel. Yeah, that's good. So, wow. I'm going to beat the horse here. Any other advice you would give to that newbie starting out?
Read books. Read books.
Oh,
When I was in this adversity, I had somebody that gave me. So I didn't read books since high school. In high school, you had to read books, right? Summer books, but I didn't read. And when I was in this moment in my life, and I had my 6-year-old child, the best part of my day in that adversity, and I will never forget, was when I was going to sleep. Because when I go to sleep, the world left me alone, right? That's just how I saw it. But this person gave me a book that was called Life's Second Chances. I read it. It helped me. And then I started reading Think and Grow Rich, The Laws of Success, Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. All those books, they were incredible. It took me a year to get out of my mindset, but I was able to understand, hey, what the ether meant, right? Like those are things that we're probably already doing and we just don't understand, right? Mastermind groups, connecting, right? There's so much. You talked about Henry Ford. Henry Ford's mentioned in that book as well too, Think and Grow Rich. So there's so many stories and so many things that you can relate to, or I was able to relate to when I was reading those books, that it helped me understand that slow things down, that what I went through was only temporary defeat. It wasn't permanent, right? So and the things, the adversity that you go through, there's an equal equivalent seed on the other side as well too, which you will eventually see. So those books really did help me. For somebody starting out, read books, understand how the world may work or get another perception of it, because how we're trained throughout the schools, we're trained to be employees, we're trained, it's different. So try to see things from a different perspective is what I'm trying to say.
yes, 100%. And we are going to talk about books in a little bit. So, yeah, I'll be picking your brain there because when I do come back to the States, this is like my big book run.
Yeah.
Because I could get stuff shipped to the island, but I'm paying like 200% shipping, and I got to wait like 3 months for it to get there. I come back every.
The tariffs now too.
Oh, well, no, it's just getting things shipped in and out of the island just at
Yeah.
a zero.
Got it. Got
Yeah,
it. Makes sense.
yeah, it's out in the middle of the water, so everything has to come in on a ship.
I see.
That I'm really really glad I pushed a little harder on the newbie there because reading books 100%. And I hear this from investors all the time. So many people on the show, they call it like Silverado University, right? They're driving around in their truck or driving to their W-2 job, and they're listening to Napoleon Hill, Andrew Carnegie, Think and Grow Rich, Robert Kiyosaki, all these, mentors in a box, right? I mean, and everybody has read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So it was 2, 3 days ago. I was picking up books for the event that I did last night. I gave some book giveaways, and I saw these two young kids kind of in the business section, and they looked totally lost, right? So I just reached out to them and says, "Is there something specific you're looking for?" And they said, "Well, we don't know." I says, "Well, you're in the business section." And it says, "Well, I'm in finance major," and they were shy and they were pointing at Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I says, "I've heard that I should read this book." I says, "Yes, you should read this book. How much money do you have in your pocket right now? Buy the book."
100%, yeah.
Yeah. And I got his contact and everything. And a couple days later, he's reading the book. He say, "Oh, thank you so much. I love this book." Wonderful. So I
Yeah.
think he was maybe 21 years old. And, I didn't tell him much other than to read
Amazing.
the book.
You
And it's
probably
all,
changed his life. That's it. That's all it takes is that one moment. That's all.
that's right. 100%. So you never know, right? This kid, if who knows what's going to happen to him? He may reach out to me in a couple of years and we may partner together. You never know,
Yeah,
right?
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
Relationships takes time, right? You don't
Yeah.
meet someone on the first date and start planning a marriage.
Yes. You're right.
So, there's all of that too. So I want to talk about some of your properties now. This is going to be fun. I've got my
Yes.
calculator. I'm all set up here. So you've got 22 units. Are most of your properties single family houses, a couple duplexes, stuff like that?
Yeah, so I own my own multifamilies, but when it comes to the short-term rental business, those are properties that we co-host and manage for others. So it's a short-term rental management company. So we scale from 7 to 22 in the past 6 to 8 months. So we 3x our business just by implementing structures in the business or systems.
3x in how many months?
6 to 8, from August to March, April.
So annually, that's 6 times, almost 7 times.
Yeah, yeah,
That's huge.
it is huge. Yeah,
Yeah, Dan Sullivan's book, It's Easier to 10x than to 2x.
yeah.
So I haven't
You
read
just
it
have
yet.
to tweak a couple things, have systems in place, and when you do, you'll scale, and then you'll hit another hiccup, and then you'll have to adjust again to scale again. So
I
that's
love
where I am
it.
right now.
So you've got multis, you've got midterms, you've got short terms. Dealer's choice here. I'm going to throw the question out and you get to play the cards however you want to do it. All right. It's your show. What's the best deal you ever did? What type of property was it? How did you find it? And how did you finance it?
Best deal. Um, I would say the property I'm in right now. Um, how I found it, my mentor told me to write out 10 offers a week. This was like 2 years ago, so prices were going over asking to begin with. Um, he told me just throw offers out, throw offers. I'm like, what do you mean? This is Andrew Freed, by the way.
Andrew.
So he's like, Sam, just throw them out. And so I just kept throwing offers out. And even to like houses that it is what it is. I almost had one under contract. It was within that criteria. It was within the buy zone as well too. I'm like, okay, cool, because I was expanding my buy zone as well too. But as I was throwing these offers out, I finally landed something in a perfect area, um, and I was able to negotiate under asking with a seller's credit. And I had a connection to a lender because how I financed it was because my mentor had told me, hey, call these 50 banks, find out who's doing portfolio lending, and see who's gonna give you portfolio lending, and see if you get good rates. Or we had a list of questions I would ask. So I called 50 banks. Out of 50 banks, I came three of them said yes, we'll do portfolio lending, and rates at that point was like around 8%, but I got an arm for like 5%, 5.75% at that time, which was really good. It was still a good deal out of all the other lenders that I was looking at. So financing was because I went through a whole call list, found the right person, and then I kept throwing offers out until I found the right property and negotiated, and I was the first one to do it. So yeah, happy, and it came with a pool. I wasn't expecting the pool wasn't one of the categories, by the way. The house came with a pool. A pool is expensive, by the way, but it's amazing. My kids love it now, and they can walk to the school.
So what kind of property was it?
It's another multi.
It's a multifamily with a pool.
Yes,
How many units?
two. I love duplexes. Duplexes are amazing.
All right. So Andrew's been on the show. I saw him at the event where we met.
Yes,
He wants to come back onto the show because the first time he was on the show, he was still W-2. So he says, I got to come back on because now life has exploded for Andrew, right?
yes, yes.
Yeah.
I got to tell you something funny though, because a couple minutes earlier you had mentioned on the first date you don't plan to marriage, right? So funny story relating to that. When I was looking for my mentor, I went to one and I felt like he was selling me something, so I skipped it. I
Yeah.
went to another one and then it felt like he didn't understand creative financing, owner occupied, all this stuff. I'm like, this isn't gonna work. So I went to a couple meetups and I went to this one meetup, Andrew's meetup for the first time, okay? I saw Andrew Freed speak for the first time. I'm like, this is the guy. So as soon as he was done talking, I walked up to him. Within the first 30 seconds of introducing myself, I asked him, do you have a mentorship program? I'd like to be your mentee. First 30 seconds. And he jokes about it now because at that moment he was like, no, I don't have a mentorship program. I don't have any mentees. I'm like, great, I can be your first one. So we started this mastermind, me and him. Every Tuesday we would meet at like 5:30 p.m. But he jokes about it. The last time I saw him, he joked about it, saying that Sam, the first time we met, you like asked me to marry you,
Yeah.
and to this day we still have this mastermind group. 3 years back to back, and it's going amazing. So You said it. I had to mention it. That's all.
So it was love at first sight, but I got to qualify this. It wasn't just love at first sight. It's like you had a picture in your mind of who that bride or mentor would be. You had the vision, right?
Yes.
Talk
Yes.
vision board, talk manifestation, talk the universe, whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
You were walking around with a blank frame and you knew exactly what needed to be in that frame. You went to this one, not doesn't fit, doesn't fit. You came up to Andrew, that gorgeous beard, and said, "Okay, this is my guy." But
Oh man.
with eyes closed,
Yeah.
Andrew's words are what filled that picture
Yes.
because he's a brilliant guy.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
and he just solves problems. Even in
Correct.
his W-2 job, that was his gig.
Yeah.
He solved problems.
Yes. Yes.
So, yeah, really interesting. So, you said 10 offers a week. How are you doing these? Just through the MLS?
Yeah, through the MLS, we'd see what hit market. I'd go out to Marlboro, go here or there, but I wasn't even walking the properties. I was probably walking two properties a week, but I was just throwing offers before I was even walking properties.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, once you get into the flow of that, you just tend to grab something. If you're just waiting there patiently for the right one to come, someone else who's already in motion is probably going to grab it quicker.
Yeah.
So get into the motion and keep going. That's all.
Yeah, that's surfing mentality. If you're sitting out in the water waiting for the wave, that aggressive guy is going to grab the wave and you're going to
Yes.
wait for the next one. And then the next
Correct.
aggressive guy is going to grab it and
Yes.
you're going to wait for the next one and the next one and the next one. You got to move your butt, paddle, and get the wave. You got to catch it.
Yes.
All right. So what else we got here? You hooked up with Andrew. He became your mentor, and 1,000 times over, newbies get a mentor. And for what Sam's saying here, don't buy the snake oil. Right? You gotta vet these people, just like a partnership or anybody else. Right? And Andrew's a
Correct.
solid guy. Andrew's helped me build this show. Right?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, when I was starting out, he was sending me, you got to interview this guy. You got to interview this guy. You got to interview this guy. So he just like helped me get over that hump. So hats off
That's
to you,
awesome.
Mr. Freed. Always appreciate you. So he set you up. He held your feet to the fire, 10 offers a week. And these were offers numbers that worked for you.
Correct.
That's important. You know,
Correct.
that doesn't mean anybody who's listening to this, don't send out 10 over overbid offers. Don't do that.
I'll do that. Yeah.
No, don't do that because if you get all 10 of them, you're going to ruin your reputation as someone who can't close a deal.
Yeah.
So, and you got this for under market, and you said there was some pretty good terms on it. You got some cash back at the table.
Yeah. 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 So we did, I don't know, it was like 5 or 10,000 or something like that. Closing credit. So yeah,
Okay,
that's what I did. So it worked out pretty well. I also, what I usually do, and I've done this for every single property when I'm doing owner occupied, I'll write my own letter to the owner and mail it to them. So a nice letter saying, hey, look, I have a family, I got two kids, and I sent it out, and that it helped on my first one, even though I didn't have a family or kids. I told my story so they got to know who's purchasing their home, and it kind of helps build that connection, that relationship.
that's super super critical.
Yeah.
I was just talking to someone. It was um, it was at church. Tim, my buddy Tim, his daughter and son-in-law were low bidding on this 20 unit in Lowell, but all the other investors wanted to tear down the building and build something new. Tim's kids came in and said, well, we want to keep the people who were there because they've been there
Yeah.
a long time. And, we don't want to raise the rent too much. I mean, as an investor, someone might think, oh, these kids are going to fail, right? But that was the right thing to do
Correct.
because even though there was more money on the table, the owner had owned that property for so long. She knew all of those families, knew all of those people. She awarded it to the person who was going to keep the tenants, even though it was
Yes.
less money for her,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So let's talk about the banks. 50 phone calls, getting it down to three who would do portfolio. And I'm gonna pick your brain a little bit here. This is for the people on the show who've never heard portfolio lending before. I learned that one from John Bombachi a while ago, but for our viewers, could you peel back the curtain on portfolio lending? What does that mean and why is it important?
It's in-house lending. So they're lending from their own bank, right? So usually when you go get a mortgage, they'll sell it off to Fannie, Freddie. They'll sell off your mortgage. But when you're doing in-house lending, they're usually holding on to that mortgage. And the ones that are going to be open to doing that for you is probably the local small banks like credit unions, savings banks. Those are the ones that I targeted. I didn't really call like the big ones. So as I was targeting these small ones, I came across a couple that would say yes. Not everyone's, usually they say yes to those that have already built a relationship, somebody they know. And these are banks I don't even have accounts with, right? I don't even know them, they don't know me, but it's a numbers game. If you're consistent, you keep calling, 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 someone's going to say yes. Same thing with the short-term rental portfolio. We kept calling, calling, calling to grow our business. It's a numbers game. Anything you do, numbers game. Like I told you, 10 offers a week, numbers game, got a deal. So you just have to be consistent. Someone's going to say yes to you today or tomorrow. That's it.
I'm going to add to that because this is super important. You have credibility. You've got 22 units, you've got track record, a 10-year track record. So as you're calling these 50 banks, and all you newbies out there, get your pens and papers, take some notes here. So if you created a credibility package, right? Some nice glossy little thing, say, hey, here I am. You tell them your story, just like the letter you wrote. I've got kids. This is what I do, blah, blah, blah. One-page story on that, one-page story on your business. Here are our properties. Here's our track record. Here's what we're doing. Here's where we're going.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
So you've got this whole credibility PDF ready to go. You're making these 50 calls. They may be saying no, 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 no. You got 47 no's. We say,
Yes.
okay, Mr. No 43. I understand that we're not on the same page yet,
Yeah.
but I'd love to get your email, send you over my package so you know who I am. Maybe in the future we can do business together because
Yeah.
I know it takes years to build a relationship. I mean, I wouldn't say that
Correct.
to the guy, but now you've got 47 Mr. No's out there that have your credibility kit. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't know where the market's going to go next month, next
Correct.
year, but they're going to have that PDF. And this has happened to me in my history of doing this. That letter I send out 2 years ago comes back to me and becomes a deal.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
these relationships, right? And
Correct.
now you've got your credibility package. Guess what? You're not only sending it to banks, you're sending it to future partners, future
Correct.
investors,
Correct.
future owner financing deals.
Yes. Yes. That makes
You've
sense.
got your Swiss Army knife ready to go at moment's notice. Just give
Yes.
me an email and I'll send it to you. And if we dance together, it looks like something we could do. Great. If not, maybe somebody else might be interested. Feel free to pass it on.
Yes. Yes. 100%.
Okay.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So if you don't have that yet, build your Swiss Army knife. You probably already have it.
I have it for my short-term rentals right now, and it's working pretty well because they'll call you back, right? And maybe the relationship with they have right now with the other company doesn't work out, and it'll come to you. As long as you do right and you have good intentions, good things will come to you. That's all.
Now, there are these newbies out there that don't have 10 years experience
Yeah.
saying, oh, well, that's not for me.
Uh,
BS. You're in the game, you're getting started, you're educating yourself. You still know where you want to go. You still know your buy box. You know your parameters. You know your market. Put it all down. So
yeah.
you're making those 50 calls, send it to those 47 no's as well.
No,
Because
no.
your relationship starts somewhere.
Correct. 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 100%. I agree.
Cool. I love the little rabbit holes on the shows, right? Because I never know where the show is going to go. But I always love what I learn, and you're bringing some real good heat here. I love where we've been here. Okay, so you still live in the property.
Right now, yes.
Okay. Do you want to talk numbers on this, or is this your primary residence? You want to leave that alone?
Let's leave it alone for now.
Good. Glad I asked. So let's move on. Uh, what's the biggest hurdle you've had to overcome as an investor?
Um, let's talk about the business, the short-term rental business. I want to focus a little more on that. So this is mainly for people that are growing their business or they're starting out. Um, the hurdle is again having the right team. So I'll give you an example. I had a hot tub tech for three of our properties. He was doing three hot tubs, charging us $2,000 a month on average. Okay, just balancing chemicals, whatever. But on top of this, not only am I paying you, I'm also getting complaints saying that the water is green, it's gross, it's muggy, it's whatever. And then on top of that, now I have this case where somebody came to me saying that, hey, I got bacteria. My doctor said that I got bacteria from your hot tub. So now I have all these other issues that are coming up, right? And it didn't happen just in one place, somewhere else as well, too. But my number one question in my mind was why and how, right? Why is it? What's the root cause of the problem? How do I fix this? Okay. So what I did was that in a totally different area, because we have something in North Adams as well too. I reached out to a cleaner. I'm like, hey, show me the products you're using, and I bought the specific brand product that I want to use now. So I brought it, I create an SOP video. I create an SOP sheet. If you're not great at reading, you can watch the video, whatever. So I created SOPs. I'm gonna go in there and show you how to do this as well too, side by side, and then you're gonna be able to multiply and teach your team as well. So we did it. I tested it out first. I wanted to see if this was gonna work. Did it for a month. Worked out. No issues. No complaints. Everybody's happy. Okay. Now I go back and I'm looking at this tech like, all right, I'm paying you money, and all I get is problems. I removed him from the business. I taught my cleaner that was there. Same thing, SOPs, and I renegotiated. I'm like, look, I'm going to pay you this much more money for every single turn you go to. I just need you to balance it, do this, drain and fill. I'll pay you an extra $200, whatever, right? So we already negotiated everything, showed him how to do it right. He did it. It's been a year, zero complaints. So what's the learning lesson? Yes, you can hire people, but you got to monitor quality, right? You got to make sure no, don't let people come to you and tell you that, hey, it's your hot tub or it's this or that. Some people are just, they try to make as much money as possible, see through, and then test it, test out your own method somewhere else and see if it works better. If you tested it, it works. Now you can do it across the whole market, right? So that's what I've learned in my W-2. I used to do that all the time, solve problems just like Andrew. So I was able to solve this problem. The investors that own that property, now my cleaning fee is 50%. So they're making more money. Everybody's more happy. Problem solved. My advice, again, make sure you have the right people working with you. That's all.
Beautiful. And then the SOPs, and then
Yep.
monitor the quality. And as you were saying, the SOP where you have the whole thing down to a checklist.
Yes.
I mean, I'm thinking like a landlord now, right? So if it were a long-term rental, I would share that video on YouTube with the tenant. I would give them the SOP. I would have them sign and initial the bottom of it that they're responsible for maintaining of it and you're not liable if they don't. CYA all the way down the road, right?
Correct. No, I created waivers as well too on the listing, on the guest guidebook. So I created everything that I need to protect myself. So not only did I have to create a document, create a video, do side by side training. On top of that, I need a liability form to protect myself from the guests as well too. So
Yeah,
both ends, right? You got to look at both sides of the business and protect yourself. That's all.
that's beautiful. So
Yep.
your biggest hurdle, if I had to sum it up, was teams, SOPs, and monitor the quality.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I love pushing the envelope here.
Yeah.
What's another hurdle?
Uh, scaling. Um,
Scaling. Oh,
so I think I talked about this a little earlier, but I'm gonna talk about how I created the system. And this is going to help a lot of people because I want you to listen to this, take a step back, understand the situation that you're in right now, and try to figure out how do I do less so I can focus on the big picture and 10x. Okay? So when I'm in the situation, I talked about Carl talking about the short-term rentals, and I called all these towns and got the list. So now I have this list, right? Now I figured out how do I get lists for free. So now I'm messaging all these towns, right? I found a way to get all these lists for free. So now I'm getting thousands of addresses with names. So now I have thousands of addresses with names with no phone numbers. That's problem number one. So I reach out to another connection. I'm like, hey, look, do you guys have a VA that can skip trace? I found somebody that would skip trace it. Three 3.5 cents a line item. Cost me $40 for like 1,000 something skip traces. So, anyways, I got 1,000 number skip trace. Now I'm looking at this. All right, I got 1,000 numbers here. I don't want to make all these calls. Like, I mean, I understand. Like, I want to grow the business, but I got two kids. I can't call all these people. So I remember back in high school, I went to Shrewsbury High, and during senior year, I actually did a. I forgot to mention this. I did an internship for George Russell Realty in Worcester. He's actually a city councilor right now. He went into politics, but he was great. I learned a lot from him. So I did a internship during my senior year of high school, and I'm thinking, all right, if I did that back in 2010 when I graduated and it's now in this day, I'm sure they probably have evolved that program. So I called up the guidance career counselor. I'm like, hey, can I meet up with you? I went in, showed them how I could bring value to them, right? If I'm able to get some people that want to intern and get them to make calls. So
Ah,
now I got interns making calls. And I also remember during a meetup 2 years ago, there was a wholesaler that I met. So I called her out of the blue and I'm like, hey, how's the wholesaling business going? She's like, I hate it. I'm moving down to Florida. I don't want to do this no more. I'm like, what's going on? I'm trying to understand what's happening. So at the end of the day, I figured out, all right, what if I give you the list, right? How about you don't spend any money? I'll give you this list. What I need from you is make calls and help me find what I'm looking for. But if you come across somebody that wants to sell a wholesale, that's all you, right? So now we created this partnership. So I have this wholesaler that's already knows how to make calls, right? And I have these interns that she's training for me. So I have a team now that's making calls, and that's how I was able to get all these leads. And then I was the one that was walking the property and closing the deals myself. That's how we scale from 7 to 22. Again, can't do everything yourself. Find a way to hire people. And if you have a low budget, I mean, I hired people for free and I paid them commission when it closed. Done.
wow. So that's scaling your business. I mean, those are
Yes.
some pretty specific steps.
Yes.
But at 30,000 feet, you know, your SOP, what's the problem you're trying to solve? What do you need to solve that problem? And then who's going to do the work? Because you can't make 1,000 phone calls with two kids. I mean, that's
No, I need to
specific
give them
to
time.
you
Yes.
or anybody else. You can't make 1,000 phone calls and do life,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
But there might be those interns that they need something to get them over the hump to do what they got to do. And if you got five interns, they're both, I mean, all five of them making 200 phone calls, that's going to speed up and shorten your timeline to get to deals as well.
Correct. And the way I'm going to look at it is that, hey, is this like a one-time thing that it's temporary where I'm just training them and then it's going to flow after? Or am I going to be doing this every single time? And if that's the case, if I'm going to have to do this every single time, calling, then I'm not really making this is a job. This isn't a business, right? I have to hire somebody, but I'm willing to spend the time to train somebody because that's
Yeah.
temporary.
Yeah.
And now I can scale.
Yeah. And even with my team, when I was starting out, when I first hired people, I would sit them down and says, look, it's okay if I have to train you to do this 10 times.
Yeah.
That's okay because me training you to do it 10 times is still better than me doing it 100 times.
Yes.
Because
Yep.
then 10 times you got it, you could train somebody else. I move
Correct.
on to the next thing that I'm supposed to do.
Correct. Correct.
Perfect.
Yep. Yep.
All right, we're doing really good. We're about an hour here, so I'm gonna
Okay.
keep plugging along. Are
Yeah.
you having fun?
I'm having fun. I love this. This is great.
All right, good. So we're gonna talk about books now.
Okay.
And you've already mentioned a couple good books. I've got them in page 3 of my notes here, but let's put a spotlight on that. Is there a book that had the biggest impact on you as a real estate investor? And I'm sure there's a few, but I'll keep asking. Let's take it one at a time. What's the first book?
Again, it would have to be Think and Grow Rich. That's what got me back into real estate. That's it, knowing that whatever I'm going through is temporary defeat, find your purpose and move forward.
That's Napoleon Hill.
Yep. Have a definite chief aim.
I want to go back. Is that other one that you mentioned? I had never heard of that one.
The Laws of Success or Outwitting the Devil or Life Second Chances.
Life's Second Chances. So the second book that you would recommend, let's go with Life's Second Chances. I've never heard of that book. Could you peel back the curtain a little on that one?
Yeah, so I'm trying to see if it's on my bookshelf actually. Life's Golden Ticket. Hold on one second. Is this it? No, it's Life's Golden Ticket. So it's right here. Can't right there.
Life's Golden Ticket.
Yep. A story about second chances. It was a good book. Again, I read it a while ago, and I would advise for anybody to read that if they're facing adversity in their life or if they're in a dark spot and they're trying to figure out how to get out of it. Read this book. It's going to help you, and then start going into self-help books like Napoleon Hill, and that's going to get your mindset looking totally different.
So this book is for anyone who's going through a difficult life experience.
Yes.
So
Yes.
anybody with a pulse who's breathing.
Everybody. Yes, I guess. Yes, you're right.
And who's the author on that one?
It says Brendan Burchard. And it's funny because I went to this massage place, and before she gave me the massage, she sat me down, tried to understand why am I even there.
Oh,
Because I used to always get knots because I tension headaches all the time. And that's my purpose, right? And she's the one that gave me this book. She's the one that gave me this book. I think she even wrote her name down, and I'll mail it back to her one day as well too. But she gave me this book.
nice, nice. So I love this part. I'm going to keep adding on here. I'm getting greedy. You've got some really great references here. Is there a third book you would recommend?
Recently from for businesses, Buy Back Your Time is a really good book. And right now I'm reading the 10X book. It's downstairs, but that's that book actually funny. So my partner Ben and I were talking, and he's been telling me for months to like hire a VA, and I was just totally against it. But then once I read that book, I just hired a VA. Like I on Friday, I made my decision. This was 2 weeks ago. On Friday, I made my decision. I need to hire a VA for calling. Because recently, the hiccup that I fell into was that all my interns graduated and moved on to college. Now I don't have any callers except for my wholesaler. So now, what am I going to do? So on Friday, I made my decision. By Monday, I hired somebody, and now she's making calls, and she already has 7 leads in the last 5 days. So
Beautiful.
so yes, 10X that book, and then Buy Back Your Time, super important.
And 10X was the Dan Sullivan.
Yes, that one.
Yep. Black cover, big 10X on it.
Yep.
All right. Now, is there a fifth book?
I'm sure there's many more books out here. I have a whole bookshelf.
I love readers.
The E-Myth was a good book, but maybe you can read my son's book. That will motivate children out there that want to start their journey.
I'm glad you mentioned that because we're going to transition in because there's usually a question, the surprise question that's not on your list. And it goes something like, what's the question I should have asked you today that I didn't? But I know I want to ask about the lemonade stand and your son's story and the book.
Mhm.
So the question I'm going to ask you is, can you tell us about the journey with your son becoming an author? And how old is your son?
He's 8 now.
Yeah.
So when he was 6 years old, I remember I was sitting in the living room and he comes downstairs and he's like, Daddy, I want to do a lemonade stand. And I'm just laughing in my head, like, okay, why? Because he probably saw it on YouTube or on TV or something. So I told him, go create a business plan and then come back to me. That's all I said to him. And then he grabs his iPad and he's actually working on this thing. I'm like, okay. And then I give it a couple months because I'm like, he's probably gonna lose interest. All right. So I just leave it alone. And then he comes back to me again, and and this is like on the third month. He comes back. He's like, "Look, I did this. How many paper cups I need? How much it's gonna cost? What jar I need? How many lemons? All this stuff." Because I told him like, "You need to give me like a whole plan if you want me to invest." So he brings this back to me. I look at it. I'm like, "Oh, okay. So this guy's really serious. Let's take it to the next level, right?" So we go to the grocery store. Me and my wife. I'm like, "Let's just do this." And we go to the grocery store. We grab everything. And on the ride back, I'm thinking, all right, I've had so many people that I've seen that they start something but they never finish it, right? So in order for me to get somebody to finish it, there's got to be motivation or a carrot at the end. So now I'm thinking on that ride, what's that carrot for my child? So I ask him, what do you want to attain? Like, what's your purpose? Why do you want to do this? And he tells me PS5. I'm like, great. That's $800, right? We're gonna make that happen. So
Right.
so here we are looking for events to do this in. So me and my wife helped set up the events. We invested. It was like $50 for the table, whatever. It was like $200 the initial investment altogether. So he does the lemonade stand. He makes like $200 on his first lemonade stand. Amazing. Okay. And then the next one, he makes another like $180. It wasn't as busy. On the third one, he learned to hire somebody. So he was like, it's going slow. So he's like, what if I tell somebody to take my menu and run around? Because what happened was that child came over and said, I don't have money and I want a lemonade. So my son's like, well, what if you go get me customers, and for every customer you bring me, I'll give you $1, and then you can buy a lemonade. So, so
Whoa,
this child
whoa,
got
whoa,
so many.
whoa, whoa. He's 6 years old when he does this?
Yes.
Okay,
So
you gotta say that again slowly for anyone who missed it. We've got a guy comes up to your son's stand, says, I want a lemonade. I
yes,
don't have money. And your
yes,
son offers him what opportunity?
it's a job to go around, find people that are gonna buy a lemonade. He's gonna give them $1 for every person that purchases.
And how much is a lemonade?
So it was like $2 or something. So he was gonna split like 50% of his. That's fine because like it was slow and he was trying to get traffic.
So he hires a marketing director.
Yes,
He
and
stays as the producer.
yeah.
Yeah, 6 years old.
Yep, yep. So it took a whole year though. So we did four lemonade
Okay.
stands, took a whole year. By the end of December 2024, he made $800. Well, yeah, 800 something, and he wanted a PS5 Pro. By that time, the PS5 Pro was out. Um, and we're thinking, all right, tax money, right? So we ended up going to New Hampshire, buy a PS5 for him.
Okay.
Because he paid all in cash for everything. And then yeah, and then he was like the happiest kid ever. So him and his brother, my little one is 2 years younger than him. He was helping him with the lemonade stand as well too. So gets his PS5, super happy. I'm like, what's next? He's like, let's write a book. I'm like, okay. So we start doing this. We take a Word document, we start writing it up. It was like 12 pages. It wasn't that big, and we used ChatGPT to make a couple illustrations for us. And then I'm like, this doesn't look right. So I sent it. I hired somebody on Fiverr just for them to take a look at it, and they somehow created a whole manuscript, turned 12 pages into 60 pages, and then they're like, you need an illustrator.
Huh.
So we had to hire an illustrator. So we got an illustrator as well too, and now we have this real book, a real book. So bottom line is that he got it published on Amazon. Then we went and got an ISBN for it as well too, a separate one. And now you can actually walk into Barnes and Nobles in Millbury at the store and pick up his lemonade book. It's called Sarim's Lemonade Stand. And all it is, it tells you his journey from the beginning, what he did, how you got his PS5. So true story, amazing illustrations. It should inspire any child. And in fact, if you look him up, Sarim's Lemonade Stand, he was also published on the newspaper as well too.
I guess I got my fifth book recommendation.
There you go. There you go. But one thing I want to advise give one advice I have for everybody that's listening to this or watching this video right now is the most important thing in your life is your time.
Yeah.
Okay? That's the most important piece. You're gonna wake up and right now you're probably telling yourself, I don't have time, I don't have time, I don't have time. You do have time. You're just allowing everybody to take your time. Right? Wake up early,
Yeah.
focus on what your goals are, know what you want to do, and it's just one step at a time, one bite at a time. Your time belongs to you. Your time is the only thing that you'll never get back in your life. Focus on what you want with your time and use your time wisely. That TikTok, that Facebook, all those things you're doing on your downtime, wasting away. You're dreaming and hoping that, hey, you know what? I want to do this. I want to do that. I'm going to do this. But you're allowing the norm around you to slow you down, where you can create your own path and move forward and utilize your time in better ways.
That's beautiful. Mic drop right there. I love doing this show. I love moments like that, right? So we're almost wrapping it up here. What's next for you and why not get started?
I'm started, and what's next for me is to grow this, double this STR portfolio. But my bottom line is that I want to do philanthropy work in the future, where I want to go to other countries like Africa, other places, and help people. That's my end goal. That's what I want to do. I want to travel and help people. Every time I travel to Bangladesh or I go here and there, I was in Saudi Arabia a couple months ago, and I helped this guy buy a plane ticket and go back to his country.
Oh,
So I love helping people. It makes a difference, and I will get there one day. That's all.
karma is king. That's beautiful. Um, Africa. We had Matthew Swerek on the show. I don't know if you know Matt.
I don't know.
So he does entrepreneurs to Africa, and him and his wife, they're now helping to build orphanages.
That's amazing.
And isn't it wonderful that real estate can elevate you to go beyond what you dreamt you'd ever be able to do?
Yes. Yes.
Like Sadeem's lemonade stand, right?
Sareems, Sareems,
Can you do that slow?
Sareems.
Sareem,
Sareems.
Sareem's.
Lemonade stand. Google it. You'll see his book everywhere. You'll see him on the newspaper. He was smiling bright with that book that he was holding. He's very proud because, yeah, I mean, it's something he accomplished, and he was able to expand off it. It wasn't just buying a PS5, but now also be able to provide to other children that are seeking similar opportunities. Right? They want to do something. You can do it. Just take action. Right? And you there's people believe in your children. Believe in them. They might be young, but don't just turn them down or don't say you can't do this. Don't ever say that word can't, right? Don't say the word can't. You can do this, right? Give them some time. Let them be creative. They're very creative. They're
Yeah.
smart. The thing is that I feel like we're dumber sometimes because we've been through 12 grades of whatever and we don't even know how to do taxes. We don't know what financial literacy is, right? I sit down and do financial literacy with my child. There's a book, and he's going to do it every single day. He's going to fill it out, and he's going to learn how things work. That's it. How do things work? Understand how things work, and if you understand it, you'll be able to move better in the world. That's all.
Wow. Really, really good. You're inspiring me today, and I needed to hear all this. So thank you. I appreciate that so much. And Sareem, in Rich Dad Poor Dad, he talks about the comic books, right? Rich Dad was working for free, figured out he could get the comic books, and he built a library and he was charging admission. He couldn't sell the books, but he was charging admission. So, Sareem, I'm imagining in the future he's going to rent time on his PlayStation 5 as a side gig while he's looking at his next entrepreneur thing. Do you play Monopoly with your children?
I do. I did in the past. But there's a Rich Dad Poor Dad has a board game. He has a
Rat
board game.
race, the rat race.
Yes. So I
Yeah.
bought both the adult and the kids version, and that's the version that me and my wife will play with our kids. Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah,
Yes.
I've played that once, and the person I was playing with, we went there together, and she won, right? At the beginning, you set out your goals. I want to do charity work, do a mission, and retire with
Yes.
X. And she nailed each one of those things. I says, "This is great. Your first time playing. Let's come back and do it again." She goes, "Why should I? I already won."
Ah. But
So never went back to that gig, but it was fun. And my first time playing that game, me being me, say it was your turn and you got an opportunity card or something like that, and I wanted to be a part of it. It's like, hey, I want to be in on your deal. I've got this. I can come in. You can't afford that. Let's get together. We're wheeling and dealing and negotiating like this is some entrepreneurial partnership, and it's just somebody's turn on the game. And the other people playing the game is, wait, you can't do that. It's not your turn. It's his card. Do you want to do this? We could do this. It's your card.
yeah.
You want to do it? And we were like pulling down deals and doing stuff and making mergers, just playing the rat race game. And it's like, wait, they're like looking at the rules, saying, "Well, I don't know if you could do that. The rules don't say you could do that." So, well, the rules don't say I can't.
That's right.
Yeah. So this was wonderful. All right. And I'm really looking forward to a future follow-up on your son
Of course.
because what is he, 8 years old now?
He just turned 8 on the 13th of June, yes.
Okay, so let's do a little timeline here. I started at 38. Actually, I've been entrepreneurial since I've been 13,
Okay.
but real estate 38. You were entrepreneurial right out of college. Your son is entrepreneurial pre-high school. What's his trajectory
Pre-middle
going?
school. He's in second grade, going to third grade right now.
Yeah, what's his trajectory? Yeah,
Question, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that's exciting.
It
That's
is exciting,
exciting.
yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah. Huh. In a couple of years, I want Sarima on the show.
Let's do it. I mean, we were talking about robo taxis and like how we would like order like an Optimus robot, and that Optimus robot would actually would call back the taxis and like clean them up, do the maintenance, whatever, and then send them back out. So we've talked about a bunch of ideas already. But we'll see where it goes. Like a lot of almost anything's doable. Anything is doable as long as it makes sense. That's all.
Yeah. And you have a vision. You
Yes.
have a vision. Your son learned to have a vision. And that's the cool thing, right? If you're sitting at the dinner table, and my dad did this when I was a kid, he was a builder. So those are the normal conversations you have at dinner.
Yeah.
The normal conversations your children are having at dinner are at a master's finance level, right?
Yeah, yeah.
They
No,
are.
I like talking about the future. That's the thing. Like even when we're in the car ride, my wife's next to me. I love talking about what's next, what's in the future, right? That's just me, and then my kids pick it up, and then they talk about it as well too. It's just something that's exciting. And you're right. If we all did this, or even if we were taught this when we were younger, we would probably start out a lot faster. I mean, my mother's great. She's really, really good. I mean, she's been putting real estate in my head like over and over again since I was young. I think that's the reason why I did the internship in high school, right? It was her putting real estate in the back of my mind. And subconsciously, you just start taking actions related to that when something's in your mind over and over. Just like if you wake up and read an affirmation every single morning, throughout your day, you start taking those actions to get to your goals. So spend time with your kids. It's look, life might be hard. You might be busy at work, and that work might be buying your time from you, whatever you think that costs to you. But find that 1 hour or whatever time you can find, even playing video games with them, whatever. That connection will help. But try to teach them something different than what the norm or the society is teaching, right? Try doing something a little different. If you do, you'll get ahead. That's all.
So how old will your son be before you tell him he has to pay rent?
I don't know, man. I gotta find out. I don't know.
Talk to your wife.
Yes.
This has been so much fun. Did you enjoy yourself?
I did. This was great. Thank you very much.
All right. And of course, you're going to get all this footage. So if
Yep.
you want to slice and dice it, put it in with your credibility kit,
Of course.
throw some YouTube links out there, put it in your credibility where people can know you, right? I mean,
Yes.
the partnership, going out to dinner with someone. Now you've got like forever in a day,
Yes.
you've got video clips where people can connect to you. So
Yes.
I'm happy to provide that for you. So
Yes.
we know your story. We know where you're going. Your son's story was incredible. I'm so glad we got that. If our viewers wanted to get in touch with you and find out more about you, how should they reach out to you?
Find me on LinkedIn, Samuel Ahsan, Sameul. Last name is Ahsan. Or just type in nightly properties like KNI, nightlyproperties.com, and you can just press contact us. Reach out. You can find me anywhere. Yeah. I don't really have Instagram. I don't really do Snapchat. I don't do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I should. I mean, for a business, I should do more social media. But most of my business right now is referrals and calls. But yeah, Facebook or LinkedIn or just go on the website. That's all.
Hire a VA to do all that other baloney. No,
Yes, you're right.
100%.
No, you're right. You're 100% right. 100%.
Wow, this has been great. Any last words for our viewers before we cut you loose for 4th of July?
No, I think this was great. Enjoy your 4th of July. And I hope I brought value to you guys. Again, if you want to connect, reach out. I'm here to help. That's all.
Beautiful. Thank you for your time, Sam. I really appreciate it. Bless you and your family.
Thank you.
So here we are, all my ladies and gentlemen, real estate peeps, rock stars, entrepreneurs, real estate investors. This is Brian Lucier signing off for the 4th of July. Why Not Real Estate Podcast, and we will see you on the next one.
Thank you.